Okay, let's try Stephen in California. Stephen, you're on with Craig Hewlett.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Nelson, good evening. Mr. Hewlett, good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question for you, and I'm certainly willing to take the answer over the phone. Would you please answer this question? What is the pre-debate formality which has existed for the last 35 or 40 years, which results in a memorandum of agreement between the debaters such that they do not raise certain issues nor ask each other certain questions? Can you elaborate on who organizes that or facilitates that, and give us some insight on why that may have impacted President Obama's performance in the debate?
Excellent question. In fact, I was trying to figure out a way to worm my way into Carl's show and raise that specter. Before they agreed to the debate, the two sides, leading advisors, get together, and they do, in fact, set the parameters of the debate. It's very rare that one political leader in a debate like that will skew the debate by breaking those rules, because it's like a rule of etiquette. The chief advisors want their people to stay off certain issues. So, for instance, if Romney doesn't bring up the $29 trillion that the Obama administration has stood by and allowed the Federal Reserve and the Treasury to hand out as gifts for the last 4 years to the wealthiest corporations and banks, then there's a quid pro quo. You don't talk about Romney and how he made his millions of dollars by rolling debt onto profitable corporations, liquidating those corporations, and the shareholders that were chosen were the winners. He made his money by being one of the most ruthless debt mongers out there. So as long as we agree that I won't talk about that, but then you don't talk about this, this is how we get to the point where a debate talks about nothing that matters. And that's why I put no weight on the debates. And after the debates, I put no weight whatsoever on what the polls say, because nobody has talked about the real issues to this date.
Is it true that various corporations facilitate that meeting, corporations that at the same time donate to the two candidates' parties?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no question about it. I know that for a fact when I worked with Jack Metcalf, the congressman from the 2nd District of Washington State. You can't have issues on the table like the Trans-Pacific, the pipeline in Afghanistan, the pipeline from Alaska and Canada. These issues, you're funded as a candidate by Weyerhaeuser, Boeing, J.P. Morgan, Unocal, and those people that give you a great deal of money, they're telling your advisors what they're expecting of you. So if there is a debate and Unocal doesn't want to talk about the Afghanistan pipeline, by God, you're not going to talk about that pipeline.
One last question, sir. Do you think, and I believe you do you think that Americans have a right to have access to the memorandum of agreement between those candidates so that the choreographed debates can be eliminated?
Yes, of course. I believe we should have access to a great deal of information that we don't have access to right now. We're becoming more like Great Britain than anything else, where we've got a secrecy act that caps anything of interest to the corporate structure that rules our governing bodies. That, if you actually had the data in front of you that I regularly get, and my researchers and analysts that work with me, we regularly collect this kind of data, and then I will report it in a national program like this. But if every American had access to that information, and yeah, I have limited access because you can go to my website on the front page. There's a whole lot of data there that the press, the New York Times and the Post, CNN, will never touch the issue. They'll never insult the corporate structure by reporting, in-depth reporting on those issues.
Now,
I would like to see those things be revealed, but you're not going to see it happen.
Well, the information that I got recently is that one corporation, Anheuser-Busch, the beer maker, is the prime facilitator of this every 4-year program whereby the candidates come together and agree or stipulate not to ask certain questions or raise certain issues, and thus mislead or disinform the American public. And thank you very much, sir, for your response.
Well, I don't know if it's, how much pull Anheuser-Busch has, but, I know the issues that are not going to be tabled and discussed in front of the American people are issues of petrochemical, oil, gas, pipelines, Middle East policy, the truth behind Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11, which is growing more evidence every single day, if you know where to look, that Saudi Arabia was behind 9/11, not bin Laden. But as we go further, we've got issues right here at home that will never be discussed in the public forum. It isn't just because the corporations have the power to silence during the debate. They've got the power because in many cases they're the same people. I sit on the board of directors of 3 companies myself. Now, they're smaller companies and they're interrelated, and I have a skill set that I can assist these corporations in their needs, either as a president or a CFO, chief financial officer, or just as the president in a different category, in a different way, with different things that are my skill sets. But when you got a guy like Henry Kissinger that sits on the board of directors of 300 different corporations and institutions, trust me, he's not there dictating policy to management. He's there to make sure that the board of directors doesn't stray off course on a larger project, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, for what they plan on doing collectively, for instance, in the Middle East. And that is what's going on. And that's why people think there's a conspiracy.